Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Gonna kick off the week with a whole load of random ones for the finish this week off, and then as you watch this one, depending where you are in the world, the whole of the Spider-Man alternate set, or whatever the universes within is it called, should be up, so I can start talking about universes within and link into the Spider-Man ones next week. So bear with me. I had a few requests to do this week, so we're kicking off today with the one you're all here for, as by the title of the video. We're looking at the Deathleaper today. Terror weapon. 2 red and green for a 3/3 Tyrannid from the 40k set. Has flash and haste and has flesh hooks. Creatures you control that enter the battlefield this turn have double strike. Right then. So we're going to give our army of green and red creatures double strike when we play this at flash, so we can play it in combat. So that's quite nice. But we need to have the creatures in the battlefield this turn. So my way of looking at this, and I know there's a few different builds of this, and I played against one the other night, and then I was requested to look at it for a video. I've gone with trying to give all my creatures haste somehow, so that's what I'm doing today. And here we go. Here's what today's deck really does look like. So, starting at the beginning, we need mana. So we've got the ramp guys in from greens. We've got Arbor Elf, Birds of Paradise, Delighted Halfling, because this does actually help us cast Deathleaper, obviously, because it's a legendary spell. Elvish Mystic, Fire Nord Elves, Llanowar Elves to give us that ramp. That should give us, 6 sources of creature-based ramp, which will hopefully have haste. So, don't actually cost us anything to cast any of these in theory. And then, just for a little bit of fun, Raging Goblin. You might as well have the original haste Goblin in the deck just for this side of it. And then Goblin Archomancer to make sure we can cut the cost of our green and red down. Carroted for a little bit more ramp. Calls through Crewfix, so we can play the lands off the top of our library and gain a little bit of life that way. And then Enduring Vitality, because if we're going to try and give all our creatures haste, we might as well try and use some of the ones that we can't really attack with. Give us some colour, so that's why that's here. Then, one of the ones that we're going to be attacking with, Lilia, the Blade Reforged. I like this card. Exile the top card when it attacks. You play that card this turn. When you exile a card from your library or your graveyard, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's fine. No issue with that at all in this deck. One of the main ones, though, is Primal Force Mage. This is quite an important one coming in from Time Spiral originally. Whenever another creature comes into play under your control, that creature gets +3/+3 until the end of turn. That's actually quite nice. We're giving all our creatures haste and then chucking in Deathleaper over the top to give them all double strike. So, they get big quickly. Savala, Heart of the Wilds, gives that little bit of ramp and hopefully some card draw every so often. Enduring Courage is the first way we've got of making sure our creatures have haste when they come into play. The +2/+0 is not unforgettable really with the Deathleaper either. Tannock, Steadfast Second had to be here, coming in from Age of Eternities. Give all other creatures haste, and then we get to warp our red creatures in if we need to. So, yay, like Bonehorde Dracosaurs here, because who doesn't want to warp this in if you can? From there, Defiler of Vigor is in, just so we can put, whenever we cast a green permanent spell, we get to chuck around some +1/+1 counters. Lovely if you got this in conjunction with Deathleaper as well, by the way. It's good fun. Goldspan Dragon, just to give us some treasures, and 4/4 dragon in the air. That's fine as well, especially since it's got haste, so maybe an 8 power attack at some stage. And we needed to really find some other cards. So Ilhag, the Raised Boar, is also in. Hopefully we get to do this with a haste and with Deathleaper in, because it will give the creatures, I understand it, double strike when it comes in out of the hand, so yay. Ojik Haslam, the Deepest Growth, to give us another way of having trample, and also to go and find another creature and a land. And obviously we know what happens when it dies. It turns into the Temple of Cultivation, and then we can flip it back over to have it as a 6/5 again, so it's not the end of the world. From there, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, because, well, it's quite a good card really, because it gives you extra mana. That's really why it's here, so yay. We'll just impend this for 3 whenever we can. Scourge of Alkis and Terror of the Peaks had to be here just so we can get a little bit more dragon damage on the go. I mean, we have got Goldspan, we have got Terror, we have got the Scourge. We've also got Twin Flame Tyrant to help us do that damage even more. And who knows what we're going to nick when we use a Tali as well to get in for the attack. That might be another dragon, which just makes the Scourge even better. But the Scourge I like anyway because of the fire breathing ability, so that's fine. From there, Inferno Titan, just so we can chuck around the damage. We can ping, shock and ping, or lightning bolt something if we need to. And then a little bit of creatures that give us some additional attacks each turn, which are very nice if we can do it with Deathleaper in play, because attacking a couple of times with creatures with double strike gives us quite a good way of winning. So we've got Morag, Fury of Khatum in as well. Then we've got the Overlord of the Boiler Barges, sorry, just do that whole damage of 4 whenever it enters or attacks. The Giant Adaphage has Trample. The Giant Adaphage having double strike and Trample means you are undoubtedly going to get at least one Giant Adaphage combat token trigger every turn, and then it probably just gets better from there with a little bit of luck. Old Gnawbone to give us the treasure so we can make things happen quicker. Vaultborn Tyrant gives us the life gain and the card draw if we need it. Zorpandrel Hunger Dominus is also here, so we can double the power and toughness of each of our creatures we control at the beginning of combat each turn. And that works really nicely with Deathleaper, because it really does make everyone a little bit more scared of what's happening. And yeah, is Apex Devastator the right thing to have in this slot? I have no idea. Possibly not. Maybe something that gives everything trample should be here, but it's Apex Devastator. Who doesn't like doing a quadruple cascade when you cast it? So it's all there. Sorceries wise, well, Vanderblast helps control the board. Esper Origins, because I quite like the Surveil 2 and the 2 life gain, and then we get to hopefully play it from the graveyard and flip it with the flashback cost and get the Esper Morden. Get the top card of our library if it's permanent in our hand, 2 green mana, then pump all our creatures up with +2/+2 and trample until the end of turn. Can't really be sneezed at. The usual selection of ramp in a green X deck, so Farseek, Nature's Law, Rampant Growth, 3 visits, and then I'm in green, so yeah, my favourite ever card is here, Genesis Wave, to help us get there even quicker. Decimate to give us some interesting removal, and I haven't, I've played quite a few Commander games online recently and in paper, and I have never been sorry to pull Decimate because there's always a target somewhere for it, always. And then finally, a little bit of control with Blasphemous Act. To make sure we can keep everything alive, Heroic Intervention makes an appearance for the first time in a while in one of my decks. And then the artifacts. Now, we have Ramp and we have some other bits. So we've got Elixir of Immortality for shuffling everything back in when it goes pear-shaped. The Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, the Medallions to make sure we can make everything cost even less. Hazoret's Monument, so we can do a whole little bit of rummaging, so discard 1 then draw 1. Creature spells, red creature spells cost 1 less. Then the Monument is also in the green one, Ronus's Monument. Cuts the cost of our green creature spells down, I should say, by 1 generic. And then whenever we cast a creature spell, target creature we control gets +2/+2 and gains trample to the end of turn. Yeah, okay then. Thanks, like that plan. Thank you very much. Erebrask's Forge is definitely fun. Because the creature comes in every combat, it will always come in and you'll always be able to give it double strike if you're bringing in the Deathleaper. Does tend to attract a little bit of hate quite regularly, especially when you start getting your X value up to like 5 or 6 because of the trample and haste. But yeah, I'm not going to complain about it still. And then the other two, the Earth Crystal, we can chuck around a few +1/+1 counters, but again, it's just to really reduce the cost of our green spells. And the Fire Crystal is just another way of giving everything haste. And getting a token copy of something every so often does actually help this deck out quite significantly. From there, we have the enchantments with exploration, so we can play additional lands each turn. Communal Brewing is one that people don't tend to let you draw, well, unless they're really behind, you don't tend to get many counters on it. But if you do, I like trying it out still. And, if you can get to a point where you have 3+1 counters on here, chucking around your creature spells with additional +1/+1 counters on it is pretty good. Fervor is in, just to make sure we've got haste along with Fires of Yadamar to give all our creatures haste and then a pump if we need to. Rhythm of the Wild, so creature spells we control can't be countered and then come Riot, so we just give them haste and hopefully get in with the Deathleaper if we're in the position to do both. Rising of the Day pumps all our legendary creatures up and makes all our creatures have haste, another version of Fervor. Guardian Project to help us draw those cards, because why wouldn't we? We don't have any cards by the same name in the deck, so why would you not play Guardian Project? Uncivil Unrest is also in. Again, gives all our non-token creatures Riot. And then if a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it will deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage. And then the final enchantment, Unnatural Growth, so we can do the whole let's double power and toughness until the end of turn at the beginning of combat every turn. From there, just your usual selection of red and green lands. There's nothing particularly fancy here that you wouldn't have seen before. We have got 7 forests in the deck. We've got 8 mountains. We've got slightly more red sources than we, well, red cards than we have green cards. Not by many, but enough. And that's really it. Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, no Reliquary Tower, no Temple of the False God. Having a break from them for this one today. And that's it. That's my take on the Deathleaper. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you think there's anything I've majorly missed out, Goblin Assault I think is one card I've seen played in the decks before. It could go in, you could put it in over the lovely quadruple Cascade guy if you really want to, but I left that one out because it's a little bit, Goblin every turn, fine, no issue. But or you could play some of the Goblin generator ones if you want to give them sort of like those little ones double strike every so often, which would be nice. But that's it for me today. Anyway, comments down below. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Help me beat the YouTube algorithm. And I'll be back tomorrow with yet another requested deck that's come through to me. So for now, thanks for watching. Take care. See you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.